Some of you may already know, but Ms. Marvel is about to get her own live-action series on Disney+. So in preparation for this monumental event, let's take a look at some Ms. Marvel facts that you need to know. Why don't we talk about 10 of them? I don't know how I came to that number, it just sort of felt right. Alright, at number 10 is that she is different from Captain Marvel. I know many of you already know this, but we gotta throw in an entry for the dabblers. Those who only dabble in superhero culture may confuse these two characters for obvious reasons, but the two are very different, although this isn't an accident. The original handle of Ms. Marvel was taken on by Carol Danvers way back in 1977 in Ms. Marvel issue number 1. Later going by the monikers of Binary, then Warbird, Danvers finally takes on the name of her mentor and goes by Captain Marvel in 2012. And when Kamala Khan, the current Ms. Marvel, appears in 2014, she takes up the Ms. Marvel moniker as an homage to Carol Danvers. This is because Kamala herself is a fan of superheroes, which we'll talk about later. On top of all this, the powers between the two heroes are also entirely different, as well as their personalities and their ages. But we'll also get to those details in the entries coming up. But yes, two different characters. It's a little confusing, but that's the gist of it. At number 9 is the fact that Ms. Marvel, aka Kamala Khan, is in high school. It isn't often that a superhero is as young as Kamala Khan. So, in the superhero world, Kamala Khan is very young, and it shows in her personality, her often being easily excitable and energetic in battle. But this choice to make her a high school student wasn't drawn out of a hat by any means. By creating a younger character like Kamala, writers were hoping to capture the attention of young readers who would relate to her everyday experiences. Being part of the Marvel Now era, this wasn't as unusual as it typically might be, with Marvel moving forward with a wave of new age interpretations of old stories in 2012. These changes moved to modernize some of the increasingly outdated storylines and themes, as well as artwork that also got a makeover. So it was the perfect time to include a fresh new character like Khan to the canon. At number 8 is the simple fact that Ms. Marvel has a number of different powers. Honestly, her power set is so vast that it's hard to tell what powers Kamala doesn't have. The original Ms. Marvel was super powerful, but her power set was pretty straightforward. She had flight, super strength, and the ability to fire energy blasts on command. She was very powerful, don't get me wrong, but Ms. Marvel's got a much more varied set of abilities that puts many heroes to shame. Her primary power is her ability to embiggen parts of her body at will, as well as shrink down to any size she wants on command. She's also able to stretch like Mr. Fantastic, so that means that so far she's got powers similar to those of Ant-Man and Mr. Fantastic. But on top of all that, she's also got the healing factor that makes Wolverine stand out from his counterparts. The only thing she needs to focus on now is her strategy and focus, something that I think we can all agree just simply comes with age. At number 7 is that Kamala Khan is herself a huge superhero fan and a lover of fan fiction. In fact, the first time we ever see Kamala in issue 1 of her self-titled comic book series, she's actually in the middle of writing a fanfic when her mom interrupts her for dinner. This isn't the only time this part of her character shines through though. She continues to be starstruck when coming in contact with other superheroes as her career picks up. In one instance, she meets Wolverine and doesn't hold back from divulging that her Wolverine and Storm in Space fanfic was the 3rd most upvoted story on a popular fanfic site. This side of Ms. Marvel is really refreshing and fun because it just shows Ms. Marvel having all her wildest dreams come true. From this first encounter with Wolverine to her eventual induction into the Avengers, her excitement persists throughout her character's arc. And let's not forget that her name derives from her love for Carol Danvers and her old moniker of Ms. Marvel. A whole lot of her identity is built on her super fandom, and we love it. At number 6 is the fact that Ms. Marvel is one of the youngest members to ever join the Avengers. For those who aren't already aware, Ms. Marvel is in fact given a membership to the Avengers after the Secret Wars event, and she finds herself starstruck once again, fighting alongside the likes of Iron Man, Thor, Vision, and Captain America. There are some members younger than her in the Young Avengers, but we're not talking about them. The Young Avengers are great, but This is the real deal, the Avengers. Understandably, she also appears to be the only one on the team who looks surprised that she's even there, constantly in a state of excitement and shock as she lives out her biggest dream. But it's not just a dream she's living out, she actually holds her own really well with the rest of the team with her massive power set described earlier. It's pretty fun to watch, but it sadly comes to an end as quickly as it began at the start of Civil War II. However, this isn't the end of her time teaming up with other superheroes. She quickly goes on to help found the Champions and continues to thrive among a new set of superhero peers. And very fittingly, at number 5 is the fact that Miss Marvel is one of the founding members of the Champions. When she leaves the Avengers, she reforms an old team of heroes that had a brief run in the 1970s. But in 2016, the first issue of a new Champions volume comes out, and it fables the story of Miss Marvel and a few other ex-Avengers coming together to form the group. They also set out to reform some of the missing ideals from their former mentors in the Avengers. It turns out that Kamala has the same issues with the Avengers' moral compass as her counterparts Nova and Spider-Man because they set out to value the lives of average people more than their predecessors. This story is pretty thematically rich, giving the reader the notion that it's up to young people to reassess the behaviors set forth by the older generations and try and find ways to improve them. Even when those elders are such impactful heroes as Iron Man and Captain America, there's always work to be done to be better, and that's a great message to send to young audiences. At number 4 is the fact that Miss Marvel is an Inhuman. Many people don't realize this, but Kamala Khan is actually part of a race of superpowered people called Inhumans, which includes the likes of Black Bolt and Triton, just to name a couple. Her initial hopes are that she'll turn out to be a mutant, her being such a big fan of the X-Men. But instead, she finds herself with origins that puts her alongside some of the most powerful superheroes in the Marvel universe. Some people online believe that this was a decision by Marvel that was only made because they sold the rights to X-Men to 20th Century Fox in 1993. Many believe that if the rights to X-Men were still in Marvel's ownership, Miss Marvel would have most definitely been considered a mutant. But that's all hearsay. It doesn't matter too much because firstly, the Inhumans are also really cool, and secondly, Miss Marvel mainly focuses on her Muslim American heritage anyway. It's proven to be a more impactful and interesting angle to Miss Marvel's character that she's a young Pakistani American, so her background as an Inhuman sometimes gets lost in the mix. But if you didn't know before, now you know. At number 3 is the fact that former President Barack Obama is a fan of the character and her comic book series. This may come as expected news due to his close relationship with his 2 daughters, who were around Kamala Khan's age at the time of Miss Marvel's first appearance. The former president was quoted saying to creator Sana Amanat about her character, "Miss Marvel may be your comic book creation, but I think for a lot of young boys and girls, Sana's a real superhero." This quote is pulled from an event in 2016 when Sana was honored at an event that celebrated women's history, and the introductory speaker at the event was President Obama, who included the aforementioned quote in his address. Sana was honored for the creation of Miss Marvel in particular, but also for other progressive work she's done at Marvel Studios. Obama doesn't confirm whether or not he's actually read the comic book, but he does admit to being a comic book fan. It's a pretty wholesome moment and very validating for progressives in the comic book industry, as well as for young girls around the world. Obama tastefully touches on the notion that young comic book fans of Muslim descent and otherwise can now truly have the option to relate directly to this new and impactful character. At number 2 is the fact that the comic book series Miss Marvel was actually expected to fail. And this wasn't just expected by critics, but by the writer herself. G. Willow Wilson, the head writer of Miss Marvel, was quoted saying explicitly that, quote, "A series like this was, by the superhero industry math of the time, doomed to fail. It was the trifecta of death. New characters don't sell, female characters don't sell, minority characters don't sell." Her words, not mine. But this may come as a surprise to many readers of this series and even viewers of this video right now, considering the series and the character of Kamala Khan have gone on to be a story of mass success. But to Wilson's point, back in 2014, despite it only being 8 years ago when the Miss Marvel series was first released, the social climate was quite a bit less liberal than it is today. So Wilson wasn't messing around when she suspected the series would fail. It really did have a lot going against it, at least in the data. But some sometimes there's a cultural pocket that opens up without most of us realizing it, which allows things that would normally be rejected to be accepted with open arms by the people of the world. And it seems as though this was one of those instances. And we're glad that that happened, because now we get to make lists about one more awesome superhero in the Marvel canon. It's a win-win all around. Finally, at number 1 is the fact that Miss Marvel, aka Kamala Khan, is the first Muslim character to headline a Marvel publication, male or female. Upon the release of Miss Marvel issue 1, 2014 was the first year that Marvel opened up to a whole new community of readers who could relate to the struggles and also the triumphs of a Muslim American superhero. Sana Amnat, the original creator of the Miss Marvel character, was quoted saying she wanted to, quote, explore the Muslim American diaspora from an authentic perspective. And she does just that. Although Kamala Khan's religion is part of her identity, Amanat and the head writer G. Willow Wilson have also made it clear that they don't want Miss Marvel to be an Islamic story, because they don't want to alienate any readers by making the character's experience too specific to one group. Another interesting angle of this character is that she's from New Jersey, which is situated right outside of New York City. And this is considered to be a conscious decision to explore other angles of the typical superhero origin story. Not everyone's from New York City, and now the rent is pretty high there, and these days it takes more than delivering a few pizzas to pay it off. And that's directed at you, Peter Parker. You did nothing wrong, but for some reason I'm zeroing in on you. Alright, that's the list for today. Guys, are you excited about the new Miss Marvel miniseries? Leave your thoughts on the character, the show, this list, what I'm wearing today, whatever you'd like down below in the comments. I've been your host, Ben Ball, and this has been Top 10 Nerd. Thank you for watching. Leave a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you on the next one.